British Prime Minister Theresa May talking about a limited and targeted strike that does not desire to escalate. And yet at the United Nations on this day, when the Russian ambassador to the United Nations said that the chemical attack in Ghouta was a hoax that was perpetrated by the British government at the United Nations had some very harsh words towards the Russians, describing the charges as ludicrous. A little bit more measured coming from the British Prime Minister tonight. But let's bring in our Jonathan Sacerdoti, our Chief European correspondent for I-24 News in London. And Jonathan, more information about the British contribution to the attack tonight?
Yes, David, the Ministry of Defence have been calling this a successful attack. They said that the UK element saw 4 Royal Air Force Tornadoes launching British Shadow missiles, which were aimed at a former missile base 15 miles from Homs. Apparently, they said careful scientific analysis was used to target and achieve maximum destruction of stockpiled chemical weapons there. That was a place where it was believed there were precursors which could be mixed in with shells for chemical weapons. So again, that's falling in line with what you saw Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, saying just there, which is that this is specifically aimed at degrading the chemical weapons ability of the Syrian regime.
And Jonathan, the 4 Royal Air Force Tornadoes, we had some video earlier tonight of British warplanes taking off from Cyprus. Do we know if that video marries with this information that the British military is providing?
It does seem likely that that's the case. That would be normal practice. And we know, again, that as we've heard from the Pentagon briefing and now also from the Ministry of Defence, it seems that for now, these strikes are over. When they say that it was successful, the Ministry of Defence, successful attack, that rather indicates that not only is it over, but that they hit their targets and they achieved what they wanted to there. The question, of course, is whether or not this is the beginning of more. Theresa May certainly made it sound there in that speech like this was a very concerted, finite move on the part of the UK and, of course, on the part of the UK with its allies in America and France. There could be more to come, though. And, of course, there is also the fear that this could escalate things. She said that this is not designed to increase tensions, but it's not really up to Theresa May or even Donald Trump to decide whether or not that is the case. They may have taken what they see as measured action, but they can't know what the reaction will be.
Jonathan, I want to read to you and get your reaction to what you think the reaction might be from the Russian ambassador to the United States. And he said all responsibility for, these actions rest with Washington, London, and Paris, including the president. He said insulting the president of Russia is unacceptable and inadmissible. Unacceptable and inadmissible to insult the president of Russia. What do you make of that?
Well, remember, alongside this actual war taking place, there is a huge war of words going on at the moment in which Britain and Russia are really going for it full throttle. That is to say that we saw even in that press conference in London just recently, we saw the Russian ambassador to the UK giving lengthy talk about how he believed that the evidence that Britain and the US had for this chemical weapons, this alleged chemical weapons attack in Syria was false. We also heard, of course, the Russians say that Britain had actually encouraged this hoax from the White Helmets, something which is considered to be outrageous and ludicrous by the British. With those sorts of accusations being made by Russia, certainly tensions are increased already before the activities of the Air Force took place tonight. So certainly, both sides are saying they don't want to escalate things, but just in the respect of their words regarding each other, there is an escalation already ongoing, and that could be also part of the motivation behind why Britain has been keen to stand shoulder to shoulder with France and the US in taking these actions tonight.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like the rhetoric that we've heard is perhaps even more intense than the actual military clash, because, again, at least from the Pentagon, saying that they did not sense, they did not get any information of Russians activating their sort of forces or flying any aircraft towards U.S. ships or trying to interdict the British tornadoes, the Royal Air Force Tornadoes that were part of this. Jonathan Sacerdoti reporting from London.